Hello there, lovely ladies. I'm so sorry I didn't make it on the weekend. My father-in-law came over from Cyprus and there's a family wedding in a couple of weeks' time. So I couldn't make it on, and I didn't know he was coming. So I've been making these lovely tassels which are in amongst some other fabricy bits which I've added to this very pretty little fairy journal here. And the journal is all vintage things, and it's padded. So I've added the tassels just to give it that whimsical look, and I've used some really lovely beads there, and just made those tassels. But I'll go through that book with you in just a moment. I have my inkjet printer, which is now up and running, which is fantastic. So I printed out this lovely picture on some calico, and I've used half of it because this is going to be the front cover of a journal, and this is going to be, pretty much the size on the inside. So I've used some dyed paper, which I dyed with food colouring in keeping with what I want for the journal. There's a very old doily there, and that's pink food colouring, and there's purple there just to go with the themes throughout this journal, and a fairy stamp that I've used. So there's lots of journaling paper there to journal on, and on the back is a beautiful piece of sari silk there with some old fabric at the very back there holding it together, which is 1930s. Now that's just a piece, as you can see, that I've cut out from a Stampira paper pad, which was 12 by 12, and I've put that image on there, and I've ironed on a rose on top of there. That is some hand painted calico that I've been doing, and some handmade papers that I've been making, squashing them down. So here's another image that I printed out. I just love this beautiful image, and this is my handmade paper. As you can see, it looks kind of handmade. I'll just have to zoom out, I think, because let you see a better image of that fairy. I printed her out and put her in the book, and on the back of her is all the handmade paper, which I'll go into another day, because I'm not very well today, so I just wanted to kind of go through this fairly quickly with you. I've made a side tuck pocket there, which is very secure because I actually sewed it on my machine. There is some backing there on that's not fabric, that's parchment paper that's been all tea dyed with Yorkshire tea. I thought I'd keep the Yorkshire theme going. That's a map of Sussex with a very old doily on it, and the reason that is there is because the lady that does the flower fairies was from Sussex, and I got that out of a fairy book, which I will show you in this video. I was lucky enough to get one, so a couple actually. So there's a lovely map of Sussex, parchment paper, a big side tuck pocket, that's all been, it has hand paper on it, everything done by hand, nothing out of a, everything's done by hand basically. Nothing was bought. So, okay, that was just some lilies on a MDF heart that I've made for the books. And this is the lovely calico painted fabric. I have pink, blue, all sorts of different colours, but I could only find this one this morning to show you because I've put my stuff away from the weekend. But I do have this in pink, and I used my acrylic paints with water to just kind of give that a bit of a tie-dyed look, so I can use that in the fairy books as well. This is the old hand Durham quilt, which I've put some lovely flowers on, flat back pearls, diamantes, little tiny flowers, big flowers, everything. This is kind of prep for the books. So yeah, it's very pretty in real life. Some rolled paper roses, and just some prep there for when I get a crack on with these fairy journals, which I'm so looking forward to doing. So I'm just going to go through this journal with you fairly quickly. This is almost completed, and that is the back of the journal. It has a beautiful doily as a base at the back. You probably can see the white one there. And then it's, of course, the handmade tassels. Everything is handmade. And it has a really old-fashioned doily as on the back there. You can see the beautiful flowers there on the other side with the old vintage doily that I've used as a skirt for this journal. I've thoroughly quilted the inside of it as well, and so most of it, 90% of it, apart of course from the paper, is all hand quilted. I had a question from June from Angel Pews, so that would be church pews, lovely name. So hello June, you asked me about the bobbin method, and of course I do have a video on that. It's about putting thread into your bobbin and turning it into an embroidery machine. I'll go into that another day, but that's what you do, June. I do have a video on that one, so thank you for that question, but it's just called the bobbin method. Now these pages, excuse me, these pages that I've done here are, some of them are just plain, but I do have the parchment paper, which sounds lovely when you turn the pages over, but clearly I'm doing a voiceover, so you can't hear it. But yeah, the parchment paper is lovely, and I've used various papers there. Beautiful cardstock, which I've cut up. There's the parchment paper, the tea-dyed paper, and all sorts of different kinds of paper there. That is a beautiful little flower there on the parchment paper, and a bunch of flowers there on the parchment paper again, and it sounds real crispy when you turn it over, and I love that sound. It's just lovely. So there we have some other papers that have all been tea-dyed. I don't use coffee because it's a very strong smell, and I drink a lot of tea, not coffee. So that's a gorgeous paper there. That's a like a little card thing that I put for in there. There's all sorts of bits and pieces, and I just love the padding, and it all works well. It just needs pockets and of course handmade tags. There is a gold pen, a rose gold pen at the back there in the pocket, which has also been used the bobbin method on that. So that's going to be lovely when it's finished. I'm getting there. I think using the quilting in the fairy book is a good idea. There will be some beautiful tags because I've got some papers to show you that I've bought, but it's going to be really pretty, and of course it will have something to tie it with as well. So that's I'm pleased with that. It will be a lot nicer when I get the tags in it and all the other yummy things that I'm going to put in there. So it's just a basic padded book at the moment. Now, this is what I really wanted to show you. I was so lucky to get hold of some of this. This is the lady that actually did the Flower Fairy books. Oh gosh, I'm voiceovering, so I'm not sure what's coming up next. I've just printed out all of these. I'll tell you about her in a second, but I've printed out all of these beautiful images which are going in fairy books. And this is the book. This is a map of Sussex, which I managed to get hold of, the Flower Fairy journaling books. And I can't believe it. So I'm ripping those up, as you can see. I have 2 of them, and I managed to get them on eBay for very little money. I think it was £2, £2.20. And so I got the whole journal, and it contains fairy wings and everything. So I'm going to be using those gorgeous images in my fairy books. I'm so lucky to have found them. These fairy journals are all about the lady who created the Flower Fairies, and it's about her life, and she has written notes. Well, they've just printed her original letters and notes from what she had written herself, and they've put them into this huge big journal. There's India, so I haven't read it yet, so I presume she was born in India, as many were back then, from the UK. So I'm going to be cutting those up to put in my fairy journals. Then there is the Tanya Whelan book that I managed to purchase, which is just beautiful. She does fabrics. I love the Tanya Whelan fabrics, and I didn't know that she did these 12 by 12 stunning papers, and they're extremely good quality and clearly very beautiful to look at as well. So I'll be using those in the fairy books. It's going to be an ongoing project for me to make a lot of fairy journals. I keep saying books, I don't know why, probably because I'm looking at books. But yeah, that's the Tanya Whelan books. I'm just running out of time here, ladies, so I'd like to show you some of these handmade mushrooms that I made. They certainly weren't my idea. I'll tell you about them when we get on to part 2, but they're so easy to make, and I'll give full credit to the ladies, the lady that made these possible in part 2. So hopefully you'll join me for part 2. Bye for now.